Hey guys, G here. Welcome to another episode of of the Elemental Awakening podcast. I'm choking a bit on a little bit of kratom. A friend of mine gave me a little bit of some red kratom, so we decided to have a little ceremony, drink a little before the conversation. Red kratom is a leaf, which is made as a tea, and the red specifically is they say red for bed, helps you to relax the nervous system, makes you just feel really good. So we'll see how that goes, see if this stuff's any good that was given to me. I think it is. I tried some last night, so I know it is. And we're going to have a conversation, and this is a good friend of mine, a new good friend of mine. His name is Genya. He's got an interesting story that he's going to share with us. So first off, welcome Genya to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Jen.
Yeah. And for those of you just tuning in, or subscribers, thank you guys for subscribing. Thanks for your support. Thank you for helping us to share, leaving comments, interacting. Just thank you guys for everything. So yeah, Genya, tell me a bit about yourself. Mr. Genya, originally from an island in Russia.
That's right. I was lucky to grow up in a very, very exotic Russian island, and it's on the far east of Russia, north of Japan, called Sakhalin. So I was exposed a lot into nature, and that was my way of dealing with my early childhood trauma, because this is where I was looking for acceptance, and I felt belong in nature.
Mm-hmm.
And nature being my father and mother, because my dad passed away when I was really, really young, and my mom was working 24 hours as a medical doctor, and it was quite challenging for her to deal with me, because I was very, very active boy.
Wild.
Yeah, that's right. I was very wild, and didn't know how to handle me in school, and the only place that knew how to handle me was nature.
Mm.
So the nature always treated me well.
Mm.
And the island is exposure to many elementals, like water and mountains and lakes, different colors. I was lucky. Today, when I'm reflecting, I think that I was very lucky to be as a child.
Very lucky. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting when you look back on the things you take for granted when you have them, not realizing what they are until you're older. Like for me, it's like I used to spend time in nature as a kid, riding bikes in the forest, and I don't know what it was about it, but it was like after school, that's where we would always want to go, just take off, go into the forest. There's something about it that just felt different. And now as an adult, it's like I feel this lack because I don't get out there all the time. You know, like once in a while, once a week. You know, like not even sometimes once a week. And you realize you're getting taken away from your natural habitat, that connection to nature. You know. So I want to hear more about your story. So Genya is an amazing guy. He showed up at one of our men's circles. He also founded a yoga studio not far from here. He's really into functional movement, functional exercise. His yoga, I did one of his classes, and it was an amazing mix of strength training, it felt like, movement, breath work, spiritual feel to it. It was an amazing experience. So he has a new program also that he's working on. He's going to share a bit about it and some of his philosophies behind that. But before we get that, how did you become this man you are today? So you were a young guy growing up wild in how do you pronounce the name of the Sakhalin. How did you get off of that island and get to Canada? Well, something happened between.
So in 90s, our family left to Israel. So when I was 18, it was a real disaster. The Soviet Union was collapsing, and there was a lot going on back then. Lack of food, lack of security, all of the Maslow bottom of the pyramid was completely out. And I was 18. I was a fairly fit guy. And I've been invited to be part of the gang. And that's how I started to explore that financial side of like how I can start to make money by being part of the gang. And likely my family decided to move. My mom said, okay, we're gonna go to Israel. So
what was the gang life like?
So gang life was like it was we were gaming. It was certain different games that we were playing among on the streets, kind of cheating people how to like I don't know exactly how to describe it, but basically it's a game that you can't win. It's like, like little like basically like like 3 cups,
Mm-hmm.
and you roll 3 cups and you get a point where that ball is, right?
Stuff like that.
Stuff like
So
that.
you get people to play and
We
gamble.
played, and there's a lot of cash, and then definitely I started to explore all that, like all that possibilities, and definitely.
You have to play this game one day. I want to win it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like it was experience, and I believe that I was lucky because today when I'm reflecting and when I connected with my friends who was in part of the game, like some of them got into drugs, many of them killed because it's got even more wild after 1992 up to like it was really wild. But I was lucky. Again, I was lucky, and I consider myself as a lucky person, and it saved my life many times. And then we moved to Israel when I was 18, and when I came to Israel, it's funny that in Russia I was like a black sheep. I was always different. I was looked different. And when I came to Israel, I was like part of the pond. I just looked like Israel, and it made me feel immediately belong to that Middle East. Because they warm, they hug, and as a child, I always like to touch people, to like, hey, how is going? And in Russia, it was kind of not as acceptable as, for example, in Israel. So many of the things made me feel home, and I went to army. I've been in army for 2 years, and then I was starting to ask myself like, what is my purpose? What do I want? And I started to become a personal trainer and did quite well. Moved to Tel Aviv, become a celebrity personal trainer, and I was burned out as a personal trainer because I was chasing primarily money, not necessarily purpose. I had some goal I had some vision in my mind's eye how my life I want to be, fancy car, fancy friends, partying, girls, etc. And then when I reached that particular level of life, I was in the most horrible place in my life, very horrible. And I left everything pretty much. Like I said to myself, I gotta just run. So I knew that I was running from myself. That time I went. My girlfriend now is my wife Zina, and said to her like, "Do you want to go and travel?" And she said yes. She finished college. I finished kinesiology in Israel, and I said, "Okay, let's go." And we traveled for 1 year. And I remember when we came to Australia, I realized that I wouldn't be able to live in Israel any longer.
What was it specifically about Australia that made you
calm? I felt calm, and in retrospect, I realized that one of the things that was challenging me in Israel is the level of anxiety I experienced there. There's a lot of anxiety in Israel.
And what do you think caused that level of anxiety? Was it just the amount of people? Was it the lifestyle?
The amount of people, the lifestyle, the conflict. It's very interesting how Israel is there, very warm, and there's a lot of beautiful people in Israel, and I love Israel with all my heart. But people have no patience there. They snap very fast.
Similar to New York kind of feel? Like
no, it's different. You've never been in Israel.
Never been in Israel.
Oh yeah, we gotta go.
Okay.
Yeah. It's highly spiritual place with incredible people, and but it's the vibration there. It's very like
intense. Yeah.
Very intense. You can feel it. And this is one of the reasons why it's such a highly spiritual place. There is so many great yoga teachers and leaders in Israel,
okay,
teaching all over the world. A lot of musicians that that traveling among ayahuasca and psychedelic ceremonies. So, and then when we come back, we started to look at possibilities of moving, and Canada was our number one because my wife, brother already been living here, and then we got our first child was born, and we moved to Israel, from Israel to Canada, and I've been here in Canada for 13 years.
So, like, when I met you, you seemed to be a very conscious, spiritual man, you know, and you came to one of our men's circles. That's how we first time we met. Obviously, we became friends quickly after. There was a resonance there. But were you always like a spiritual guy? Were you always like focused on like betterment, personal development, or was there a shift somewhere from personal training to what you're doing now?
I believe what happened that when I was practicing my kinesiology and personal training, I felt the gap is missing, and definitely this was spirituality. I didn't connect mind, body, spirit, but back then I just thought like make my body stronger, flexible, or whatever, right? But I felt gap in myself. I felt void, deep void that I was feeling with alcohol, drugs, and stuff like that. So in Israel, I started to look into spirituality, but I couldn't find that vein that resonated with me. I went to Jewish religion. It didn't work for me. But I was looking for spirituality. So when I came to Canada, I started to, I applied for yoga teacher training.
So
and that's where...
How did you know you were looking for spirituality? Because you said you went to like a religion and it wasn't resonating. How did you know that's what you needed? Because I know you told me you were partying a lot and you just got tired of it.
It's like, as I told you, it was a lot of pain in me that I could only manage with alcohol, or any other form of addictions that available to everyone everywhere.
Yeah.
And that pain was more and more intense. No matter what I was doing, I thought that I'll make a lot of money, and I'll have fancy car, and I'll have a bunch of girlfriends and friends, and they'll be celebrity coach, so my pain will go away. It didn't. It was worse. I thought, okay, maybe I need to go and travel all over the world and see other countries, because I know that when I travel, I love. And then I remember, but the point that we got to Japan, I was very depressed, very depressed, and this didn't go away. I was, and then when I came to Israel, I said to myself, okay, now Canada, let's go to Canada, because I always dreamed to move from Israel, because I felt that I want more nature. I want more lakes, and I want vast. I said to myself like I'm confined in Israel, and all of this energy, it doesn't do me any good. So I moved to Canada, didn't go away. So it's almost like tried everything. And that was like, okay, now what? So I was naturally drawn towards movement, and movement, the next step for me was very natural. It's yoga. So in yoga, I started to meet some people that they started to ask me questions that I started to reflect on. And that way I went deeper into that self-exploration, because slowing down and facing myself, removing the mask, and literally looking into what I'm running from, started to create that kind of inner liberation that I am on right now.
So looking at yourself sort of let you know that you're moving towards some more answers or relief from the pain that you were suffering. Sort of engaging you. So there's like a knowing. Got this creative slip in my throat. So it was like you knew you were on a path. You didn't really know where it was going, but you know it was in the right direction. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So how long ago was that? The yoga training and
so I did yoga training, and it was now as I'm reflecting, now as I'm a part of the faculty of yoga training, I understand how that training was not really well done and delivered. But one part of the faculty of the training, her name is Diane Bruni, he sparked in me something very special, because the training is Ashtanga based teacher training, and this was in 2008. And I know she just sparked in me something very, very special, and that was looking into the direction of yoga therapy.
Okay.
And then I was searching for.
So when you say yoga therapy, is it yoga therapy as like physical therapy? As
Yoga,
like
so yoga therapy that I was looking for. Since childhood, I've been a therapist for girls. Since I was a preteen, girls will come and they will cry about the boyfriends, about all that stuff, and I'll sit and listen. So, and they always will give me good feedback about like, you're a really good listener, your eyes are warm, and we feel very comfortable to share with you something. And I was asking myself like, what's going to be my purpose? I thought that I'll be a psychotherapist or some form of psychologist. And I look at that realm, but I realized that I won't be able to sit for 6 or 8 hours and just listen to people. So movement
not a wild boy who belongs out of nature, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So I said to myself that movement. It's my key, right? It's who I am, and I realized that I'm really looking for a yoga therapy school that's giving me movement and psychology. So I found Phoenix Rising Yoga Therapy. And
what founded it?
Yeah, found I was
you doing, found it.
I was doing research, and
Phoenix Rising,
and I came across Phoenix Rising. It was in 2010, and I enrolled myself because what they offer a combination of a contemporary psychology and ancient yoga philosophy. So basically, I was getting skills on how to facilitate movement and ask open-ended questions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a form of like Carl Rogers' approach to psychology. He'd been asking questions, but he never gave the answers, and he was questioning the answers that people were telling him. So that kind of approach, and I really loved it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not telling you.
Yeah, you're asking.
You're asking because.
Well, I think that's the premise behind like coaching. Like when I this last year, it's over about a year now, more than a year. I enrolled to become a life coach. I'm an executive coach, an executive coach, and a life coach. And I thought, and this was my own learning, that becoming a coach, you would learn how to teach people. But what my misconception is the coach is just, you have to ask the right questions so that they can find the answers themselves.
Yeah.
So the less I talk, the better. I'm just asking questions. I shouldn't be saying anything to you that's going to try to influence or guide you or anything like that. It's more about asking those right questions. And so that approach is what I resonate with as well. And it just unlocked this whole thing. It's like, I'm really good at asking questions. I'm really good at helping people to dive deeper into like asking them the right questions. And that's what the best coaches do. They're able to ask the right questions so you find your own answers.
Yeah, and you're really good at asking questions.
Thank you.
I believe asking questions is superpower. There is a notion known as Socrates. Socrates' approach. So Socrates was never giving people answers. He always been asking them questions, and that's a Socrates approach. And I think it's a very powerful approach. Not to give an answer, but question the questions or question the answers.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this in Phoenix Rising was a combination of yoga and some talk therapy as well, combined.
Yes.
Asking the right questions. So, for example, would certain emotions come up in certain poses? Was it like that type of?
So, founder of this school, Michael Lee. His name is Michael Lee, and what he realized and what he experienced himself in yoga poses is emotion, but he didn't know how to deal with them. Never mind that many yoga students are going through certain emotions, and yoga teachers they don't know how to address it. So he started to develop a technique on how to help people to be with that emotion, because it's an energy in motion that needs some safe container where that can keep going. Instead of offering the napkin, you just allow that process to continue to unfold and see where is that going to take him. The client, not you. You have no agenda. You're just there. You have a compassionate presence, and you're just witnessing and mirroring back what they're saying, stuff like that. So basically, yeah, it's very simple and it's very powerful. And because we have that psychosomatic experience, there's a lot that's going on in our body. It's stored in our body. And when you, like heart opening, it's a big thing for many people. And it's very powerful.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. The relationship between the body and the mind. And I've seen both ways where as people start healing their body, things come up, like emotions, when they start moving things or like doing certain stretches, but also vice versa. When they heal their mind and emotions, their body starts opening up. You know, so there's this relationship between the two, and I think they can go either way. It can go mind, body, body, mind. You know?
Totally.
So you've been doing that for a few years, and then just recently you found some new interesting doors that have opened for you in the form of like plant medicines and stuff like that. Is that something that you're open to talk about here today?
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me about that experience. So you went from yoga and you're working on your spirituality and changing, and you're coaching all these people, and then one day you get introduced, or you're called to it. How did that come to be?
Yeah, it's happened last year in August, September, where one of my friends told me that a shaman coming from Peru to facilitate San Pedro experience, and I said yes to it. I was hesitant because I didn't know. I always imagined that I'll do it there, and I said yes to that experience, and it was 1 day ceremony, and I experienced something very profound. I feel what I experienced from San Pedro, it's a deep heart opening. It just was very, very emotional and very. It's almost like it's very, very, very simple what I'm going to say, but the answer is love.
And sometimes it's hard to describe these experiences because words don't really do them justice. And like heart opening, I could try to think about what that means from an intellectual perspective, but until you experience that process, you don't really understand it.
It's very experiential, and it's yeah, as you said, it's like words has a limitation to express what I felt.
So from someone who grew up in Russia, and in Russia, were you religious? Are they like?
I grew up in the Soviet Union, so the only religion we have is communism. Not communism, the socialism that we're supposed to take us towards communism.
Yeah, so you're not really allowed to have any beliefs about spirituality, is
No.
that so? So yoga is one spiritual path, and then how does this come into play and shift your perspective of reality?
Yoga?
Yoga and then into psychedelics, like in the San Pedro. Is it another shift, or were you already way beyond the? Is it atheist communism? Like they don't believe in any god, or like what's?
No, there's no God.
It's the state is everything.
Yeah.
So how did your beliefs shift after
I when I came to ceremony, I was beyond all of these beliefs because remember I left Russia when I was 18, so I took my first experience of psychedelics when I was 45. I'm still 45. I mean, I'm going to be in May 46. So it was a journey for me.
So I guess a better question would be, when did spirituality come back into your life after not really having any spiritual foundations in Russia? Was there a point where you started thinking about God and the bigger questions, like the more existential questions?
The word God never resonated with me. I always felt there is something, and I chose not to put my attention or evolve towards that direction because I was more driven by material stuff. And when I started to explore more meditation and really slowing down, then I started to feel there is some connection to, I'll say, cosmic energy.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I started to even consider myself as not just spiritual person, but spirituality, it can be verb or it can be noun.
Mm-hmm.
So it was more of the verb for me.
So do you think that by the states actively preaching atheism, it almost forces someone to find their path without any sort of indoctrination? Because it's indoctrination in a way where they're telling you like there is no God.
Mm-hmm.
But it's different than if you're brought up in Catholicism, saying like this is God, this is the way you have to follow this. So it's almost like guiding you on a path of belief.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this one, there's no belief, so you might find it rather than trying to disagree with something, then go in search of something else. Does that make sense? Do you agree, disagree with that?
You see, for me,
Like for example, if you grew up in a strong Jewish, with a Jewish background, because you're Israeli, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that would have shifted the way you perceived going to yoga or then opening up to
Psychedelics. I think it's just gonna enhance it and it's make it even deeper. I believe it can go hand in hand.
You had the opportunity to live in a few different places. One being the islands off of I guess it would be, what's it considered? The east coast of Russia?
Far east of Russia.
The far east of Russia.
Yeah.
Because it's west of us. Just trying to figure out when you're there.
Yeah.
So it's far east of Russia. Then you go to Israel, which is a very highly spiritual place in the world. And then coming to Canada and finding yoga and psychedelics. I guess, where would you find the biggest shift in your awareness when it comes to spirituality after all those experiences?
I believe one of my biggest shifts is my decision to be more disciplined with my rituals.
Oh, okay.
About 2 years ago, I chose to be very disciplined and start to create routines in my life that will feed my body, mind, spirit, emotions, and I started to practice yoga daily, doing meditation daily.
Were you typically a disciplined person? Like when you set your mind to something, you can do it, or was it something that came as a challenge?
No, I never been a disciplined person. Never. I don't see myself. My understanding of discipline, discipline derives from word disciple, and my understanding that, for me, it means being better disciple of life.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always resisting my life. I didn't want my life. I didn't want my dad go away when I was really small. I didn't want my mom overworked, burned out, zero patience, mom around me. I didn't want all my stepdads. I didn't want my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I get more and more into spirituality, I definitely got into, not definitely, but I got into more of acceptance, right? Because that's acceptance and forgiveness has been my work.
Mm-hmm.
And that opened up that it's alcohol give me extra energy to be more disciplined, because I know discipline is critical.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say discipline about self-care, about doing things that serving me than disserving me. Because all my life I think I wasn't disciplined from that kind of perspective, feeding my body, feeding my soul, facing my emotions and being with them. Mm-hmm. So that's, for me, it's spirituality, basically, that components of taking care of all of these 4 layers of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual bodies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. So then going back to the San Pedro and the heart opening experience, did that shift anything for you?
It is shifted, and as I said, primarily, like, because I grew up in an environment of a lot of rejection. I experienced a lot of rejections on many levels. Love for me is something that I couldn't understand and I couldn't feel towards myself, number one, because I've always been rejected. I was conditioned to being rejected. And then when I took first dose of San Pedro, I felt deep love. And it was towards myself, towards nature, towards people around me, because I sat in a group of 12 people that I don't know. And some of them were like people that I didn't feel connected. People who were recovering from drugs, and then I felt acceptance and love, and that was so profound. It's almost like what San Pedro did to me. It's like open window, and I was able to just stick my head and look around and say like, that's what's possible. And then when the ceremony was over, of course that feeling not was as strong as when I just described. But deep down inside, I felt that coming back to my daily routines, it's going to be so necessarily to continue to feed myself with that kind of microdosing of yoga, meditation, breath work, and now I'm plunging every day. And all of this stuff, it's just going to move me slowly towards that window. So eventually I'm going to stick my shoulder, my hand, my body, etc.
Amazing. Oh yeah, we're going to talk a bit about plunging in a second. So it looks like the sauna is almost hot enough. Do you want to continue the conversation in the sauna?
Yeah, of course,
okay.
Of course.
Let's do it.
So lately, I'm a Wim Hof instructor. Most people know that because I always see my crazy videos. You've been doing daily plunges in the lake, and I want you to share a bit about that and a little bit about Russian sauna culture.
So, I in my life, I give a lot of sanity in my life, a lot of credit for staying sane in many life challenge situation to the sauna. I've been always doing sauna. So I was, as I told you, I was personal trainer, so I always had access to sauna in Israel. In Russia, I've been going to banya once a week. And in Israel, it was like daily immersions into sauna and cold showers. So that kind of change of the temperature always helped me to keep going in my life, right? Because I was partying all night, and then serving 7 to 8 clients every day. It was crazy, and doing sauna will keep me going for another client or two, right? And today it's coming from different place. Today I'm in a way better state and stage in my life, where cold immersion is just helping me to. It's a ceremony. Just now I'm taking myself back to this morning, a plunging experience where I just sitting inside a lake and my head sticking down, and I'm noticing elements. So what I do, my plunging meditation is to notice elements: water, earth, air, and fire that I feel in my body. Because the way that I can stay, it's visualizing. It's not actually cold burning. It's a cold, but it's burning. So it's like now I'm sitting in sauna, right? It's just feels like it's burning me. And there it's burning me too. So all of these elements of nature, it's just feeding me, and it's fucking addictive. It's very addictive.
Well, it releases all these endorphins when you come out. So there's this. Ariel was just telling me about a guy who was here. Was telling me about there's this opposite to an endorphin when you put yourself in a challenging situation. And the more you do it, apparently, the more able you are to deal with these, whatever the term is, the opposite of the endorphins, builds up your tolerance and also makes you more sensitive to the endorphins. So when you release all those positive hormones, you feel it more. And the ice bath, besides all of the scientific and physical benefits, there are these emotional feelings that are released by these endorphins that people can get addicted to. But but it's the best thing to get addicted to because it's natural, it's nature. There's no real side effects except making you stronger, helping you sleep better, boosting your metabolism, all these amazing things. Have you found it getting easier as the days went on? Like the first one was challenging. You've been doing it daily for how long now?
Since when I came back to Costa Rica, I at first so I was doing it from mid of December, something like that, mid-December.
Mm-hmm. And any other changes you've noticed other than like physiological changes, mental changes?
It's hard for me to discern because as I'm reflecting right now, I've been doing simultaneously breathwork daily and microdosing, and I decided to be a vegan for 90 days.
Okay, how's that whole experience going for you?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's all good. So it's really hard to kind of discern between all of these.
Okay, how about we loop those together and collectively all those experiences? What's going on in your life right now?
It's empowering.
Yeah.
I'm going to a transitioning in my life related to studio and center and it just seems to everything. It's there's a deep trust in me that I can handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Opposite to something else that I experienced most of my life, that's something around the corner that's waiting for me and I won't be able to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll probably commit to suicide. Because being suicidal for me, it was most of part of my life.
Oh.
Right? Because I told you that my dad committed to suicide when I was 4 months old, and statistically the chance of the child to suicide is going for by a lot of chances to suicide. Because
if
father or one of the parents, but definitely mom, it's different than father, but male, it's different interpretation. So I was always making myself ready. One day I will, because there is something going to come up into my life that I won't be able to handle emotionally, and I'll go.
It's interesting.
Contemplating on that, how it's going to happen and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's interesting that example. I had an interesting experience last time I was in Costa Rica, drinking ayahuasca. I was deep into medicine. I was struggling. It was, and I know, when I'm struggling with medicine, usually for me it just means to drink more. And I remember sitting up and couldn't find my glasses, and I couldn't see anything. So it's very dark already as it is, and I don't have the worst vision with all my glasses, but I can't really see. It's blurry. And so the thought of me having to get up, and these ceremonies are big. There's like 80, 90, almost 80, 90 people in a ceremony, big room. To make my way up to the front to find the shaman without no glasses on, under the influence of ayahuasca, was like, holy fuck, how am I gonna do this? And then I was worried, am I gonna step on something or someone? Am I gonna fall? Am I gonna hurt myself? All these weird things. And the medicine sort of responded. It's like, you can live your life being afraid of what you can't see, or you just be as present as possible in this very moment, and no matter what comes to you, to be able to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're walking very carefully and presently, and you use your senses, you hear something, you sense, there's a body there, or, even when you're putting your feet down, each step, because if you're just present, you can handle anything.
Yes.
And it was like, how do you apply that to everything in your life? This one situation, fine. But it's the same, like exactly what you just said. How many moments in my life, when I opened this place here, I had all this insurmountable debt. It was a new concept. I didn't even know this area was ready for it. Like we're in Toronto, but we're like north of the city in the GTA. Very material sort of part of the GTA. Like a lot of very rich people, a lot of people driving fancy cars. It's more of like a spiritual type, or de-stressing also. But I was fear, and I was calculating. Like if this doesn't work, what's going to happen the rest of my life? If I lose all this investment and I had to sign my house on it, what's going to happen? All these fears coming up. But the big shift in my business is when I let go of all that. So I'm just going to be present. Every single person that walks through here, I'm going to go. My intention was to be of service, to create an experience that could be transformational, and really live it myself, be an example. Everything changed. So I can go with that fear of like what's coming around the corner. So it sounds like a very similar reminder as your story as well. Come around the corner. So, anyways.
It's what you just like. What I'm teaching myself to live by. It's not whatever you set, and I more and more strongly believe in soulset and mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge difference and a shift. And when you live by soulset, you're not trying to get to you. It's a place to come from.
Mm.
Whatever you're setting in your life, right? I know you up to the larger impact that you possibly can for humanity, right? So it's not the place that you want to get to; it's the place that you want to come from.
Mm.
So you didn't try to get your glasses. You were trying to come from a place of trust
Mm-hmm.
that you'll be navigated.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why for me 2020 it's all about surrender.
Mm-hmm. Did you end up reading the Surrender Experiment book?
Yeah. Oh, so
The Surrender Experiment, the book. Have you read it yet?
yeah, I read it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I read it. I read it last year, beginning of last year.
Okay.
Yeah, and for me, surrender, it's a big thing today because every morning I tell myself that I'm guided and I'm guarded and I'm directed by the living intelligence of the cosmos.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as I stay disciplined, I'm a strong believer of morning routines. As long as I stay disciplined, as long as I take care of my physical body, which is the temple of my soul,
Mm-hmm.
as long as I take care of my emotional and mental states, that will feed my spiritual state, and that's where the soul set come from.
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm reflecting on your stories, what just keep coming back to me, your endeavor of elementals come from soul set, not from mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the mindset, it's impossible to tap into that surrender that you tapped into.
It's a
Because
hard.
this huge amount of money was it was a lot on stake.
That was part of the lesson I had to learn, because I had to let go of my attachment to that was defined. I was defined by how much money I had, or how much money I didn't have. Like if I was this fear of like going bankrupt, moving back in with my in-laws, like stuff like that. I was like very fearful. But at the end of the day, it wasn't important. Like that fear brought up, okay, what's really important? The relationships I had with people, my family. You know, that can never be taken away from me.
Never.
You know, so as long as I can hold that space of integrity and not, you know, like, because some people in those situations might do bad things because they feel stressed or they feel like they're put in a situation that they need to change things. But I was just like, no, just be present and trust. So it was a very interesting experience in that regard. Yeah. And just letting go into it, you know, just letting go, allowing things to unfold. It doesn't mean it not working either. Like some people think surrender is giving up.
Yeah.
Surrender is, for me, it's letting go of trying to control the outcome, but also working hard with passion, you know, and finding balance, but having, but moving forward in the moment.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not about stopping, giving up and saying, okay, whatever's meant to happen is going to happen. I'm not going to do anything. No, continue to learn, continue to have passion, continue to be yourself and express yourself. But don't be so fixed that, I need to make this much money. I need to have this many people by this time. Like, it's good to track your metrics in a business, but you can't let it control you. So it's like, what's the intention? I want to help more people. How can I help more people? You know, be myself. Let them be themselves. Show them experiences. Don't make them feel pressured. You know, have an open door where they can do sauna and a plunge, which we're almost getting ready to go. We've got about 5 minutes. So that's been incredible, and the heat's making me lose my train of thought a little bit here, but I guess your story was also going in that direction as well. So you're surrendering this year, you're letting go, and how has that been working out for you?
It's been working really well because I believe in the lighthouse approach.
Mm-hmm.
I think I shared it with you, but I definitely will be happy to share it one more time. I used to be a tugboat. I used to hustle and looking and grabbing and trying and selling and pushing and challenging and motivating. And this is more a tugboat approach, which is absolutely a stage of life and state of life where you do that. But there is a I'll say easier way and deeper way to do that. It's being a lighthouse.
Mm.
It's holding your stance, being in one space, doing your work and eliminating So whoever gonna come.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean that you're still standing and doing nothing.
Mhm.
No, I'm a big believer of rituals and routines that you do every morning.
Mhm.
And that kind of energy helped me to attract into our center great teachers, great educators,
Mhm.
absolutely phenomenal students.
Amazing.
Yeah, so that probably what my
Do you ever
experience-
feel like the impulses of like that old mindset of like trying to be in control?
Of course,
you know, like
of
trying.
course.
It's a battle, right? It's like
All
it's
the- all
an
the-
adjustment to really
every day.
fully surrender.
Every day.
It takes practice, commitment, making
Yeah.
mistakes,
Yeah,
going back and
exactly.
forth a little bit.
Exactly. I heard it from Maria Ferrello, and she wrote a book. It's called Everything is Figure Outable,
I like that.
right? It's figure outable, and what she said deeply resonated with me, and I was ready to receive her message. There's a readiness. It's like the guy, he was ready to stop eating his nails.
Mhm.
There's a readiness, right?
Mhm.
It didn't happen in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It took him 40 years to
Mhm.
make that radical decision,
Yeah.
right? But took 5 minutes.
Once you're ready.
Once you're ready, you gotta be ready.
Mhm.
The readiness is the big key, right?
Yeah, willingness.
When people
readiness.
hear that stories about NLP and power of NLP, it is power of NLP, but it's the power of readiness.
Yeah.
Enough suffering,
And
enough
sometimes
struggling.
you find NLP at the right time when you're ready.
Exactly.
You know, like it was always around.
Yes.
And now it's on your radar when you're like, okay, I really want to make some change in my life. So now you attract these opportunities. And that's what I think surrendering is about. It's once you start to surrender, the things that were there that you couldn't see before, now you can start to see them. You have more awareness, these opportunities.
Mhm.
Whereas, you know, a pattern, which is like, why does this always happen to me? It's like, okay, there's something here that I need to learn or experience, grow from.
And that's a really good question. Why it's happening to me, and why it's happened that way, and why I didn't have that way? Because what Maria, what she shared, she said, you can't lose. You can either learn or win, which is pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm.
When you're learning, you're winning. When you're winning, you're learning.
Yeah.
But you can't lose. That kind of soul set is very, very
It's
powerful.
changing your mindset to a soul set, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Changing into a soul set, and you become a lighthouse that doesn't hustle. You just hold your space, and tomorrow morning, either you did your projected revenue goal or not, you're still doing your yoga practice. You're still doing your plunges. You're still doing your breath work.
Yeah.
That's the key, because the key is to maintain vibrational energy that coming from your soul set,
Love it.
and that consistency will attract to you opportunities.
And that's what's happened to me. Like all the fears, everything over the last few years have gone away, and now I'm just have this crisis of too many opportunities. I don't know where to spend my time. But this is also another challenge. So the universe is presenting a new challenge, like me being able to say no to certain things, or setting boundaries, not feeling bad, because I always want to say yes and please everybody.
Yeah.
So now it's like really checking in. Is this aligned with what you really want to do?
what you're inspired to do.
Yeah, is this really aligned with where you see yourself going and what you want to do? And if it's yes. If it's no, then you have to be open, transparent, in a nice way, be able to share that. Listen, I love you, thank you for the opportunity, but I'm gonna have to pass.
Yeah.
So it's a new learning for me. Before
Absolutely.
you thought I could take on the whole world and do
Me
everything.
too. Same thing. We're 6 years into our center, and people always coming to me with
Ideas,
and let's do
opportunities.
this, let's do that. And my mentor and Tracy Sagradi, her standard is always excellence and high standard. That's something that I wasn't doing up to that point when I met her. And even when I met her, she still was coaching me around that excellence. And now the question that I ask myself, if I say yes, can I bring that project into the state of the excellence?
Yes.
And if it's no, I'll say to the person, you know what, I would love to do that. It sounds amazing, but I can't see myself dedicating enough energy to bring it to that level that you want in vision, and my standard, it's high standard.
I just recently had what seemed initially to be the opportunity of a lifetime to take over a center with no upfront start cost.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't exactly what I'm trying to do. It was just one portion of what we have here at Elemental. And I was really thinking, should I do it? Should I not do it? At one point, I can be lucrative financially. There may be all these issues you can't see. Is it going to take away your energy from what you're trying to do in building this community here? So, I dragged my feet in a bit and decided not to go through with it. And, I think I made the right decision. And
how do you feel with that
I
decision?
feel great. I feel great. And before you said this great fear of missing out, if I don't make this investment, or if I don't do this, I'm going to lose out. But it's I'm not losing anything. There's nothing really
You can't lose.
You win or you learn.
That's the thing with psychedelics. When you go into that, when you do your work of preparation to psychedelics, you're going to take yourself through the process. You do your integration. By the end of that, or during all that process, you understand you can't lose. It's just you
And
can't.
the key is the integration.
Absolutely.
It's so important, which is your daily routine and ritual. They go hand in hand. Like
Absolutely.
one is important for the other. So it's
Yes.
like if you just do a psychedelic, I think you're 25%. If you do a good routine, 25%.
True.
When you combine, it's like 80%. It's not 50%.
Exactly.
It's a different equation after.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You ready for a plunge?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
ready for lunch.
So we're gonna do that. So again, thank you for coming, for spending this time here, for hanging out, sharing your stories, some of your wisdom. There's one teacher or one saying that you told me once that really resonated with you about people who are on this journey. You said, if they were sleeping, let them sleep.
Yeah.
You'd say it better.
Yeah. So basically, I learned it from Michael Lee, my teacher, and he said to me, as a therapist, as you invite people to deeper journeys and deeper, the deeper you're going to go, the deeper you're going to invite people, and there's different levels, and you're going to meet people, and you're going to sense that they're still asleep. To let them sleep peacefully.
So if they're sleeping, let them sleep.
Let them sleep peacefully, right? They're not ready. We spoke about readiness to dive, and there's next. It's people who are awakening. So shake them gently, and then they are awakening people. Awakened. That nourish them and learn from them.
Nourish them and learn from them. Yeah. So if you're watching this, use this as a guide. If you feel called to be a leader, everyone has something to learn from everyone. But it's sharing humbly without trying to impose is really important. But again, if you're watching this, you're probably in the process of awakening or already awakened. Nourish that, learn from others, share, expand, share this podcast if there's something in it that resonates with you. And I always say, even if there's one word, one thing that we shared that really stood out, dive deeper into that, investigate that more, and there's probably something there for you. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Genya, again here. If you want to connect with you, are you on Instagram? Do you have any social media?
Yeah, I'm on social media. Genya Klaiman.
Genya Klaiman.
And you can find me at Indigo Yoga Studio.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Until next time, have an amazing day. Love you guys. Peace out.